everybody, and welcome to Unmuzzled. I'm your host, Sarah Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. I have terrific guests on today, Pete and Cailen from SEED, Strategies for Ethical Environmental Development. I want to say that, and please know how important this work is. This is a must listen podcast. Presenting sponsors, you're up.
Thank you to our presenting sponsors. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. Tons of indoor space and a spacious yard. Canine Cruise is your one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Bark Pouch makes 5 mess-free lickable treat recipes in 2 sizes for a delightful time with your dog. Their grab-and-go pouches make perfect gifts for the dogs on your holiday list. For more, go to barkpouch.com. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital and the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet.
And now I'm joined by Pete and Cailen, who have been on this podcast before and have amazing knowledge on livestock issues. I know we've talked about runoff at farms and how bad it is for the environment and so much more. Every podcast, I learn so much. Their organization is called Strategies for Ethical and Environmental Development, but we're going to call it SEED just because it's easier.
Yeah, it's great.
Welcome, guys. Hello. It's good to see you again.
So good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. In case you hear any sudden barking or squealing, our dog Ramon is with us. So,
and we should add the link for the new case. It's actually seedlivestockauctions.org.
Yeah, seedlivestockauctions.org.
Seedlivestockauctions.org.
Yeah.
Got you. So tell us, can we start with kind of an overview of what you guys do? Because it is so necessary, and there's not a lot of people that do this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. You want to talk about the main part of SEED, your thing?
So there's no main part. We have 2 programs. We do undercover investigations into farmed animal facilities, and we also do case development and facilitation and funding for environmental cases against factory farms. So Clean Water Act cases and federal court record cases, that sort of thing. Because we want to sue factory farms.
Yeah. and that's like a program that like Cailen birthed that program, clothed it, put it through school, gave it a degree, set it into the world. Like that's all her. So she works with environmental litigators to do that. And then we have the cruelty end. And our most recent case is a cruelty case. We investigated 17 livestock auctions in 10 states. And 2 of them I documented, but 15 of them I worked undercover at them. And so this is Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, California, Pennsylvania, New York, Louisiana, and Florida. So we thought that'll really show the scope of what this is. And if it's cool, I'd like to go ahead and explain right out of the gate to listeners why they should give a damn. Basically, if you eat meat, this relates to you. You might not think it does, right? You might be like, look, I get my meat at the store, right? I go to McDonald's and shit, but 80% of cattle producers get their animals to market through auctions. There are more sheep and lamb sales than there are sheep and lambs at auctions because many of them get sold more than once.
What?
Basically, it's like if you look up wherever the fuck you are in America, you Google livestock auction and you see what comes up. You look at that livestock auction, you're probably going to see railroad tracks next to it, and that's because back in the day, they needed to use trains to get their animals to market. That later switched to using 18-wheelers, right? But it's like we took cattle and we started saying originally we're just going to use them for hides and tallow. And then we decided, no, we can use them for beef, but we have to send them en masse to market. And it literally became part of the infrastructure of the United States, like railroads and then eventually 18-wheelers. And these are places where you have big, massive factory farm ranches selling, but also small producers. People like, I got 2 goats and I'm just going to sell my goats. I have 6 cows and I have some calves. I'll sell them. And then you have small producers also buying from them, but also the biggest names in the business: JBS, Cargill, Cavaness Beef Packers. Livestock auctions are the backbone of the livestock industry. And there is an enormous amount of abuse at them. Basically, is it cool if I kind of dive into some of that shit there?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so listeners, I'm not going to try to make you cry. It's not my goal, but I just got to explain what happens. Is that again, these are places like they're everywhere. There's over 1,000 livestock auctions in the United States, some big, some small. And the rule of thumb with a commercial animal industry is this: the less human interaction with the animals, the more neglect. The more human interaction, the more violence. And at livestock auctions, there's constant interaction. So there's constant violence. Yeah, it's you can. I wanted to pause. I didn't just. I can keep rolling with really bad shit if you like.
No, I mean, so I literally went to the website and I was like, my jaws dropped because I can't believe what I'm seeing. And so when that ending was another mic drop by you, of course. But yes, Cailen, I know you want to chime in, and I would love to hear from you.
My dog is freaking out. I have to be a mom first right now and take him out. I'm so sorry.
Please don't apologize. Can we just get a little glimpse of the Chihuahua?
Of course. This is Ramon.
That's Ramon.
Buddy. I love you, buddy. Okay, Cailen, thank you for being a good dog mom. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
More importantly, thank you for the really important work that you do, because I really, really appreciate it.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
All right, we're excusing her, but Pete is he's going to keep going because wow.
I got a lot of shit to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, what a powerful statement about touched, untouched. I mean, that is really heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's rough. And so it's basically that, we got a main video on the website. Right. And you go on to, seedlivestockauctions.org and you look at the main video. We kind of explain it. Now, just in case anyone out there is like, come on, bullshit, Pete, you just showed the worst of, you're kind of making a big deal out of nothing. There's 3 other videos on that website done by species. One for cattle, one for sheep, goat, and hogs, one for poultry. And if you think we're exaggerating, those videos will show you everything. You're not going to sleep much at night after that, but they're going to show you everything. Basically, the deal is that when I saw healthy calves that were like 300, 600 pounds, like big, healthy calves, pass out, collapse, and even die from heat and stress. It's just the pace is that insane at these auctions. And the workers got to keep up an insane pace to move the animals. Like if you don't know anything about it, the way it works is generally it's once a week in a rural community. You got auction day. Everybody shows up. It's like going to church, right? In fact, it's often the same people that you would see at church, right? So you have a lot of people that dress up in like their Sunday best. Like I think I described it once. It's like you go to a livestock auction, you're going to see people. It's going to be a cross between the movie Deliverance and an episode of Real Housewives. All right. It's like, but everyone's there. And they're selling and they're buying animals. And then you got major producers that come from out of state, from wherever, and they're there and they're like, I want to buy and put them on my calf ranch, or they're like, I want to buy and take them to my slaughterhouse, right? Whatever the case is. And everyone's unloading, and you have thousands of head you got to get through that day. Everyone's unloading, then they get them through auction, then you got to load them up. You got a crazy pace. If an animal doesn't know where to go or collapses, it literally stops everything. The buyers can't buy any more animals. The you have animals that then like they're coming out of their pens to go into auction. You have to stop them because they can't mix them with other animals that are about to go in. Everything stops. So people have to make those animals move. So they beat the living hell out of them. They shock the downed cows, sheep and goats, because they're smaller and easier to deal with. They take worse violence. People pick them up and just throw them. Hogs, people shock them and beat them. Poultry auctions is different. It's much more. There's a much smaller amount of the poultry sector that deals with auctions, but those that do, it's bad because they're all. And when it gets hot, I've seen chickens and rabbits die in front of me, take their last breaths in front of me while waiting to go to auction because they're just so crammed together in cages. It is places like that where you have poultry, rabbits, hogs, even dogs. I've seen dogs and puppies at these auctions, all these species together, all their shit mixing together and people walking through it is such a huge vector for zoonotic disease that in 2023, Harvard and NYU came out with a study on zoonotic diseases. An entire section of it is dedicated to livestock auctions. And you go to our website, you can click a link to go to that study.
I mean, horrifying, honestly. And I just wonder, because does Cailen come with you too?
No, this was just me.
Okay. Do you, like, I know, and same with the puppy mill stuff. I'd have a hard time keeping my cool. You know, I would really feel some real anger. You know.
Yeah. So check this out. Like, there's an auction I was at in Florida. And you can see in the other footage, it's online, that there's like this one kid. This kid was like fucking 6 years old, and they would let him go running around, and he would emulate what he saw the adults doing. So he would run after animals to kick them in the face or the hindquarters, kick sheep and goats, right? And everyone would laugh, right? I mean, fucking over 100 people in this room, and everyone watching a 6-year-old kick animals. Everyone laughs, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. And then I saw this one teenager at this livestock auction in Oklahoma, and he's frustrated because he can't keep up the work pace. He was super nice to me, right? Very nice, but he was so frustrated with himself. He was picking up goats and slinging them and throwing them over a fence while his dad was drinking beer, watching, just approving of like, yes, my son is doing the job I want him to do, right? And then I saw a young adult. When I saw some sadistic abuse, these guys would like, if a sheep or goat wouldn't move where they wanted, they put them between their legs and then twist their heads until they'd scream to teach them a lesson, as they put it. And I saw this young man pin an animal, I think it was a lamb, and then twisted the head to the side for like a couple seconds and then let go. And he didn't have a look on his face like he enjoyed it like the others guys did. He just kind of looked like, I'm supposed to do that, right? And then I saw, of course, older people, including customers, engaging in that kind of abuse. And so it's like a cultural thing. It's like everyone is raised doing this. And even I remember I had a woman hand me a goat. She had this goat on a leash, and she bent down to kiss the goat's head, took the leash off to give me the goat's collar. Normally when you move a goat, you scare them into a pen. You move towards them, they get the fuck away from you. This goat followed me into a pen. But after that goat went through the auction ring, the goat was fucking running like the rest of them. And it just really lets you know that like these people that I was working with were otherwise good people. There are exceptions, but in general, very polite to me, very polite to other people. If they were younger than me, they would often say yes or no, sir. Right. And it's just that like, we want to hate them and we want to be mad, but it's not that simple. You know, there's already laws that prevent this. It's not doing anything. There's already regulations and USDA regulations about downed animals. They don't do anything. This is ingrained into an entire culture that abusing animals is something that is part of what you do. And it's part of being a hard worker. And I don't see a realistic option to combat that other than to eat less animals, eat less animal products.
Yeah, so that was literally kind of my next question, because we all know nothing's going to help, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
we have to help. And by you going in, risking your life, similar to the puppy mills, probably being sick for weeks after, just from what you've seen, although you definitely have a thick skin by now, but exposing it, showing us what happens in these places. Because for those that I grew up in the same type of environment where animals were not, they were property. They were property to be sold, bought, killed, in the middle of Lancaster, Amish country. A lot of my friends grew up on dairy farms. I helped milk some of the cows. Those animals were not treated well. And I will say I did work on a little bit of a nicer farm. They were friends of my parents, and the animals were in general well cared for. They still were farm animals, but if you grew up without seeing this, you probably will never see it unless somebody like you brings it to the public. And again, I think when we first chatted, I was still eating meat, and part of the reason that I don't anymore is because of what I learned on, exactly, the podcast. And, again, we always say, one person can make a difference. They can. And then when I have my husband now, who does not eat as much meat, he still eats some meat, but he definitely less, and he thinks about it, it still is helping the cycle. And it sucks, like, that this happens. And honestly, I know we've talked about this, but if some humans, they won't listen to this podcast because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to see this picture. And by the way, in this picture, if you look in the background of how many fucking pigs are stuffed in that cage, it is absolutely mortifying. That's not even the focus of this picture. You also see chickens or hens or whatever those are, too, in the foreground. There's a lot going on in this picture and it's not just these pigs and the goats in the middle. But if you think too much about it, you will drive yourself crazy. But hopefully it drives you crazy enough to do something. And one person, two people, three people doing something does make a difference. So when you say, I'm not voting because it doesn't matter, like, it does, because you're not just voting for the bigger picture, you're also voting for down here, so so thank you again for all you do. Please, you guys, go, again, there was like dead air there because my mic was muted, and I was literally on the website like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm there's a 4-minute video here that really explains everything. I believe this was one in Texas. Was this all of them together?
Oh, that was all 10 states.
Okay,
all 10 states.
Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, New Mexico, Louisiana, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, and California. Wow.
Yeah. And then we also have on there, we have a lot of information. So if you're like, hold on, I don't want to see that yet, but you want to read stuff, it's all on there. In fact, one of the things we have is we have a tab called Reasons for Abuse. It is not a bunch of pictures of animals getting the shit beat out of them. It is, we very much explain this is exactly why this occurs, why people do this. And one of the things that we put on there is I wrote up 3 stories of workers that I was with, and I gave them aliases, but they did some bad shit. But I explain who they were and what the situation was that made them do that. So that if you just see it, you'd think, I'm so fucking pissed at you for doing that to the animal. But after you read the whole story, you'd say, okay, I see I can blame this entire institution and not this individual right now. If I get mad at them, that's not going to solve this problem. One of them, was this guy who, like, he had some kind of a physical handicap and he couldn't walk right. And his left arm didn't work as well. His left leg didn't work as well. It was hard for him to get words out of the left side of his mouth. And he was just so determined to work hard that some of the stuff he would do was brutal.
Yeah, it's sad. And man, it kind of like, it's bad. It kind of takes me back to childhood and some of that stuff. Like we did a puppy mill podcast just a bit ago. You kind of, I think you like kind of erase it a little bit from your memory because it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. But when I hear you talk, I mean, I've been to some of these auctions, as a child, and I've seen it. It really is. And again, I didn't know better. And these people, this is how they grew up. This is how these kids grew up. And it's when you get out of it and like realize how bad and how wrong it is. And if you are a rescuer, a helper, or somebody in a nonprofit like you, like it hurts your soul to the core. It really, really is hard. Well, we're here, so everybody knows. So you can go to this website, like I said, and this website has even more about what they do. And do I have that? That one should be, .com. You can become a monthly donor. And I was supposed to do it last time, and I literally have the monthly donor tab open. So Pete, I'm going to be
thanks. So thank you so much.
But honestly, the work they do, I cannot stress enough how important it is. We need them to do the work. They can only do the work if they can travel, if they have accommodations, if they have the proper equipment to get the video, to show people, to show us inside what is going on. That's the only way we're going to see it, because I'm not going back there, and I know most of you will not. But it is really, really, really important work. So please go check out their website. Go check out their undercover videos. Go check out the 4-minute trailer, which really delves into all 10 states and what they did there and what they saw. But thank you so much, Pete. Anything else you want to chat about?
No, you really covered it. Like I love it. That's fantastic. The only thing I would say is I would just urge people that if you hear this and you're thinking, oh, that's kind of bad, take a breath. The video is actually very well done. There's a lot of information you can read on there. Just, have an open mind.
Give it a chance. Yeah. And like you said, you don't have to watch everything. You can at least read what they do. You can see what they're about. And you can probably get through that part. And at least if you've listened to this podcast, I hope, Pete has somehow inspired you, or maybe I have too. You never know, right, Pete?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
We're influencing, right? All the time.
Yes, here we are.
All right, Pete, thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Wonderful guests. I love having them on. Thank you, Cailen, too, for joining us. Hey, when you got a 10 to a Chihuahua, we're going to let it be. Supporting sponsors.
Thank you to the following supporting sponsors. Kimberly Cailen Photography. Give the gift of joy this holiday season and memorable moments of furry loved ones with a gift card for Kimberly Cailen Photography. For more details, visit her website at www.kimberlycailen.com. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they are dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. Give the gift of pain relief and extended mobility to your furry friends this holiday season. They offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninept.com. Anything is Possible is Chicago's premier dog training company. They offer group classes for every single stage of your dog's life. They have a talented team of behavior specialists to work through any issues that need modification using positive reinforcement.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Cailen. Thank you so much for everybody. Let me start there. Thank you so much to everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.